Hello, and welcome to Company Culture with Yvette C. Owens, where we explore the behaviors that really influence how other people really see you in your organization, how they really perceive you, how they really feel about you, because it's all about how you leave other people feeling. And this month, we've been focusing on leaders who have been created through adversity. I don't know if that's part of your story. I think it's a part of many people's stories, but there's some who have just been able to come up out of some really tough spots. And I've had the privilege of interviewing them this month because when you have a leader who understands what it feels like when you gotta keep pushing, even though life feels like it's beating up on you, then that leader normally understands how the people who are coming alongside them, working with them, will feel when they run into life, because life happens to all of us. I'm happy tonight to have in our second series of this conversation about leaders created through adversity, Michael Villines, and he's coming to us from Louisiana. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's so great to be here with you. And as people come in, as you come in, please like and share and like, invite other friends because they will need to know that this is a powerful conversation that is happening tonight. And especially if they're in a leader situation, I'm sure that they will find comfort in knowing that they're not the only ones that have been through some tough things and had to still rise to the occasion. And Michael's story is pretty unique, and I'm going to yield the mic to him to allow him to share with us your story, Michael. Share with how you got into this space, what you do, and how you're helping other people.
Yeah, so I'm the autoimmune coach. I work with people who have multiple sclerosis, give them the confidence for everyday life through diet, stress management, lifestyle. And my journey with everything began in, it started in 2017. I noticed that I used to live in Idaho. Now I live in Louisiana. And I noticed from when I moved from Idaho to Louisiana that some things just got more difficult to use. Like I never remember getting as sore as I would, or some things just hurting more and more difficult, that they just start hurting more and more. And that over time that my walk ended up deteriorating more and more. Walk I was a helper in industrial construction at the time. I'm certified pipe fitter by trade. And then I just start off as a helper, and I'd get on the job site and I'd walk in, everything would be fine. And then by the end of the day, it looked like I'd be limping off of the job site. Everybody always asked me what went what happened to you, and I'd go, nothing. Like, I think I'm functioning fine, even though
Yeah.
it doesn't look that way. And I had to use some pretty strong motivation just to walk out of job site. And then 2018 came around, and I ended up going to see my general practitioner because I wasn't sure what was wrong. That I know in college I had spent there where I was making a run for national championship in judo. So there were some days I worked out for 8 hours a day. So there's 2 hours of lifting, 3 judo classes, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class. Then I thought I was out of shape, so I did what was
Even
supposed
harder.
to be 1 hour of cardio turned into 2 hours of cardio. So it turned into 8 hours of working out for at least twice, and then like a 4 or 5 hour workout on Saturday, 3 hours of judo, pretty close to 3 hours, and then more cardio and everything else. And Saturday was all work, all my weak points. But I thought it was something that I'd done to myself. Or if it wasn't something I'd done to myself, that I need to figure out what it was, because whatever it was wasn't getting any better. So
So
and
that
so
must
my
have been really That must have been really painful. Tell us, what was your responsibilities on your job at the time when all of this started happening? What
So
were you doing?
So I mean, I was a helper at the time. So when you're a helper, you're a grunt on the job site. So whatever, and I worked with all the pipe fitters and welders. So whatever they said you need to go do, you did. Or I'd go get told to go pick up trash or clean up the job site by my foreman or whatever. So I do everything from move pipe, haul around, go get water for the crew, um, do that, clean up trash, bevel pipe, clean up
Wow.
supports, just whatever they needed done. That's what I did. And I I can work very hard.
Hmm.
So whatever I lacked knowledge skill wise, I made it with my work ethic. And I got
Nice.
stuck in a lot of crazy situations just because I did whatever they asked me to, as long as it was safe to do on the job site. And so I
So how did they respond to this change in your physical condition?
they told me we think you should go see a doctor. And I thought whatever was off was because it was something that had happened with judo. I wasn't lifting weights like I had been,
Hmm.
and that I just thought that all my muscles had shrunk. And so everything that was happening to me was because of that. And I can remember a time when I saw my parents for Christmas time, and we were walking around, and then all of a sudden things just like my legs started to cramp up really, really bad, or not even cramp up. They just didn't really want to work. And
Oh
so I
wow.
sit down, I'd stretch, I'd go, hey, I just need to stretch it out. I'll be good. But ended up struggling along for so long that eventually my dad went off. He got the car, drove it to where me and my mom was, and picked us up. And then it was maybe 20 minutes later, just sitting around, that I started walk around like everything was normal again. And me and my dad, he was like, "You're tight. Like you just need to stretch it out, and things will be good." I'm like, "Yeah, I know," but over time, it really didn't matter how much stretching I did. It just kept
Right.
on getting worse and worse.
I love the fact that you had all this resolve inside of you and you kept like, okay, I can figure this out. I can do this. I can try this. You never, it seems like you never really gave up and you were trying to figure out how you could make this better because you were obviously fighting for your health, right? And so
Right.
you get this diagnosis. And so, tell us what that experience was like and what it triggered inside of you.
Yeah. So, to jump where we are to the diagnosis, that I ended up going to see my general practitioner. He said, "I think you should go see a neurologist." And that was it. I went, "Do you have any suggestions?" Because going to see the doctor, he goes, "Oh, I think you should go see this type of a specialist." And then he was about to leave. I'm like, "That's like I'm drowning. You've got a life raft. You've got a
Mm,
vest or something on the boat." You're like, "Oh, here it is." Or you throw it to somewhere I can't reach it. I'm like, "That's not good enough, doc." I was like, "Do you have any like? Do you know anybody who's a neurologist? Somebody who's good?" And he
right.
was like, "Yeah." And he probably just recommended me to one of his friend who works at the medical clinic that I go to, but he recommended me then, and then ended up seeing him with two appointments, and they said, "Hey, uh we we need you to go get MRI done, blood work." Then second appointment, they said, "We think you have multiple sclerosis." I didn't know what multiple sclerosis is or was, and I don't think the majority of people know what that is anyways. And then I ended up getting a puncture scheduled soon after that, and that was crazy because I just gotten laid. When I had my second appointment, I'd gotten laid off that week from the current job site that I was on. So being a subcontractor with my insurance, that the rules are a little different. I think that if, say, there's 30 days in the month, you get laid off on the 30th, you have no insurance for the next month,
Oh,
whenever that next
wow.
month comes around.
Yeah.
So the nurse called me up and she went, "You don't have any insurance?" I went, "Yeah, my insurance is going to run out next month." And she went, "Well, the room that we do the lumbar punctures in, that's under maintenance, but we can do a really basic one there and we can get the CS fluid from your spine. And if I can swing that, you have to come right away. Can you do that?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." And then so ended up going in. They had to stick me 4 or 5, maybe 6 times to draw the CS fluid. There was blood in the fluid, and the neurologist said, "I think you have multiple sclerosis," but because all the trauma that was in the area, I believe that's why there was blood in the fluid. So that's
Wow.
how I was diagnosed. And I think there's a difference between, I think you might have this, to you have this, and especially
Absolutely.
when it's something that you don't really know what it is, because all that happened within, between the lumbar puncture to we think you have this, all that happened within 6 hours or even
Wow.
3 hours, really. So it was really, really fast. And so between all of that, then my last girlfriend that had my ex, her parents took me in. I stayed with them for, I want to say, the first 2 weeks. And they took care of me like one of their kids. And all that was great. And so between all of that, that God really watched out for me, he took care of me. But between all of that, that when you diagnosis, because it was about a month later when I finally got the diagnosis, and that's when it finally hit you, to where the shock really happened when I think you have this, and between everything happening so soon and so quick, that all of that happened. And then there's, so where do we go from that? I remember I planned a month.
Your
This is,
connection is a little shaky, but go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So I planned this entire month long goodbye, and that between all of that, that my dad, I ended up having a conversation with my dad on the phone, and he went, "Michael, you can keep on living the same way that you're living. Before you didn't know what it was, but now you know
Mm,
that you actually have this. You can keep on living the same way that you're living, and you'll end up in a wheelchair." Or there's some people who they've health their diet, and they've, some people they're eating what they have, some people they're basically changing their life as much as possible. So after thinking about
that sounds
that for
like
a
great
little
wisdom
while,
from your dad. That sounds like great
yeah,
wisdom from him. I mean, because
yeah, exactly.
you don't want to get stuck in just a really bad place, because that really just even takes you down further, right? Um,
Right.
and too often people have things that happen to them, and we get it. These are hard, and this is a hard place that you found yourself in. You were working, you had your life going, you're doing all this jitsu and all that kind of activity, and now you're being told that you have this disease that's really going to just continue to just wear at you. And then I love the fact that your dad stepped in and said, you know what, you can choose to live a better life than what people are prognosing. That
Yeah.
was awesome.
So, so I can remember walking around. I walked around art museum because I just look pictures and happened because that one thing people always forget is there's a process through whenever you that. So I walked around our museum. I can remember sitting and that I sitting in the art museum and thinking I can either keep on drinking and it's really pity drinking at this point, or I can choose to become a victor instead of a victim of my circumstance. And I can make that pivot, I can make a shift, and I can turn things around as much as possible. So that's when I made the pivot and I started working on improving my own lifestyle and the things that I was doing to beat this as best as possible.
Awesome. And so how did you find that how did you find the right foods and the right things to put in your body that would support you as opposed to not support you?
Right. And so I made change to my diet early on, and I realized that the thing that could hurt me is my
Say that again. What could hurt
I
you? What could hurt you? Say that again, because that seemed like something we want to make sure we can hear. Good.
so being that is one thing that can hurt me, that can hold me back. So I thought that I need to start surrounding myself with positive people. And I thought,
Mm.
man, I don't really know that many people who are that positive all the time. Like we all go, yeah, I want to be around positive people and people thinking really being extremely positive. I went, I don't really know anybody like that who I'm around. So I went, so where can I find somebody like that? I went, YouTube University.
Mm.
So every single night before I went to bed, I just did motivational speaker, and I listened to that for about three, I want to say about 3 months. Every time I listened to that, and the and if you want to change anything, the the quickest way to do that is through immersion. So I
Mm.
got the close that I could to immersion. I went to Unleash the Power Within, and Tony Robbins talks about his date with destiny, about how when any hardcore drug addicts go to date with destiny, they have a 100% recovery rate from whatever
Wow.
problems they have. And Tony talks about the difference between going to see a counselor and you have to see a counselor for months and months and months, and an event with Date with Destiny is because when you see a counselor, the counselor will give you a couple of things to work on, because if they know they give you too many things to work on, your brain at some point is going to resist it. But when you
Mm.
go to an event to where you're immersed in something, your brain doesn't have a chance to fight any of it at all. It just goes along with whatever is happening because it's hit with this punch and it doesn't know what to do. So I did the closest thing that I could do to immersion was whatever I could do. I listened to motivation, all these positive people. So one comment I'll get a lot from people is, man, you're really positive, or all this. I'm like, it took some work, and some of that's because I think whenever you go through a hard event, that it brings up whatever's there. So if
Mm.
whatever your strengths are, it brings that out. And so when I ended up getting the diagnosis, did the immersion, all the positive thinking and everything that was there, all that brought that out to be even more.
Hmm. So we're nearing the end of our time. We got about 10 minutes. So tell us, how are you help? How did you take that energy, which is absolutely fantastic, that you were able to overcome? Because again, I can really relate to the fact that you're saying, there's a lot of negative talk around, so how did you decide that, hey, I have to make this better for somebody else? Because you could have kept trying to do it for yourself um make your life even stronger. What made you want to say, what, I want to help other people in this same situation?
Yeah, one of the things that helped me make that shift and that pivot was that I'd realized that I'd learned enough that I could help out other people to where I started feeling confident to where I could help others improve their lives and get to a place better to where they can change things around. Because a lot of people, and some of it is just support, helping them with their thoughts. And because a lot of people, and I'll talk to a lot of people, and one thing that a lot of people don't have is support, whether it's from loved ones, friends, or they're trying to eat a specific way and their kid doesn't want to eat that way.
Hmm.
So I want to say I was on a free challenge that Cheryl did, and I listened to
We've lost your audio again a little bit.
yeah, I was free challenge with Terry Walls, and,
Hmm.
and I noticed that everybody had this thought, this that was holding them back from wanting to improve and get better with kids or whatever it was. And after seeing everybody go through that on the challenge, I went, I think I can help people out. I can really
Yeah.
help and get people to a better place. So that's what sparked the thought to where I have something that other people don't have. And after seeing everybody on this challenge struggle with that, I have to get this out and I have to help out other people.
So tell us exactly how you do help other people.
Yeah, so I work on three core pillars. I work with diet, stress management, and lifestyle. So I eat a special way and I eat a diet that's high in nutrient dense foods, NRF2 activating foods, and that has that nutrient density, like I said before, and all that it made me feel better than I have in the longest time. So I eat that way, and if somebody wants to eat that way, great. If somebody wants to follow a different diet, that's okay, whatever it was, but guide them and help them along their journey. And I'll tell everybody that the best diet can be worse for you short term than the worst diet can. Because if I give you a gift of the best diet and you go, man, this is way too restrictive, it's too hard, whatever it is, even if it causes you from going out of the wheelchair to whatever, that you get a lot of cortisol releasing in your body. There's good cortisol and there's bad cortisol. When you
Right.
get that adrenaline high, the major chemical that your body's releasing is cortisol. So cortisol is not bad, it just gets a really, really bad rep. But there's bad cortisol and there's good cortisol. And it's important to address both of those, but help you deal with that and then teach you how to deal with stress. There's good stress and there's bad stress. The majority of the stress that we go through today, it's good stress, it's not bad stress. You just have to change how you think about it.
Mm.
Athletes and people who go through a stressful situation, that you ask them what happened, they go, my heart rate got elevated, breathing got more deep, my thought was had all these thoughts, but the athlete thrived through that experience, and the person had trouble with whatever it was. Teach you how to do a stress and give you tools where you can do a stress. And then maybe it's Wi-Fi, maybe it's a moldy environment, maybe it's a water damaged building, or one of the other areas in your environment or lifestyle or whatever it is that is hurting you with your multiple sclerosis. We'll take a look at that and help you along with that. I like to describe all this as, imagine a door with a lot of locks on it. Some will be inserting keys into all those locks, and some of those locks, as we turn it, we hear some gears turn. Some of them, there
Nice.
won't be anything at all, and the goal is to hit that last lock to where you hear all the gears turn, door opens up, and that's where your health is in the best state, whatever that looks like for you. And I work with people for 3 months. I won't guarantee that we'll hit that final lock in that 3 months, but we'll be one step closer to where you will hit that final lock.
And Michael, tell us how people can reach you. I'm going to put it in the comments and add it there for people to find it. So how can they reach you?
Yeah, Facebook, I'm on Facebook a ton, Instagram, LinkedIn, and
With your
then
name, right? They can find you
yeah,
with your name on
right.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, my Instagram handles Michael J. Villines, and my name and that. And if anybody's not on there, if you want to directly get a hold of me, my phone number is 208-242-6947.
Hold on. 208. Say again,
242
208
242
242. Yep.
6947.
Awesome. This has been a powerful time with you, Michael. I appreciate you helping people. And because I know, to your point, a lot of people get in the situation that you're in and they don't know what to do, right? And they don't
Right.
know where to turn and they just accept, the doctors, oh, go here, go there, and it might not be all that they need.
Yeah.
What's your
Well,
handle on
doctors,
Instagram again?
it's Michael J. Villines. I mean, and doctors don't even give people guidance. When you get diagnosed, they go, you have multiple sclerosis. Here's a bunch of drugs that you need to take, disease modifying drugs or disease modifying treatments. If you don't take them, you'll end up in a wheelchair. They'll either say, hey, this is the one that you should take, or this, or here's a list of them, look them over. You tell me which one you want to take. And
Mhm.
they walk out of the room. That's it. So there's no guidance, there's no help, there's nothing else after. So imagine if, and all that happens maybe within 15 minutes. So you get
Wow.
hit with the punch, doctor goes, this is what'll happen. Take this, either guidance on which one to take or no guidance at all. And you have to decide and walk out of the room.
Yeah. But not anymore, because they can
So
call Michael Villines and get that support
exactly.
that they need. And the beauty about this is it's not just somebody, you're not just somebody who said, and not no slight to anybody who does that, because anybody who
Right.
wants to help anyone, praise God for that. But you are walking testament to what you're offering people, and that is really, really powerful. What you're going to advise them to do, is work for you. And as you even admitted, they might not want to do everything, but you can offer some options. And that's what people want, right? When they get in those situations, they want options. And I'm so glad that you are there answering that call and being those options for people. I think it's just admirable to what you're doing. You didn't sit and wallow in the diagnosis, but you said, nope, I'm going to get myself together as much as possible, and then I'm going to turn and help other people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so awesome. So, what do you have coming up for you next? Do you have anything that you want to share with the audience? If and thank you for those who are joining. And if you join the replay, just do hashtag replay. I monitor all my channels, and we want to get you in touch with Michael, so his information is there. So, Michael, what's next for you? What you have in the works now? What is going on?
So what's in the works now is I also do have a free Facebook group page as well, that it's autoimmune lifestyle transformation. So if anybody has the only condition for the group, there's really three, is one, you have to have an autoimmune condition, whatever it is. And then there's a bunch of questions that I'll ask you from there. But the group's free to everybody. I'm
Give me the
working
name one more
on
time.
it's autoimmune lifestyle transformation.
Got it. Go
And
ahead. I'm
then
sorry.
yeah. So I've got that, a free resource to everybody. I go live in the group. I do a Wednesday night live training to where right now we're going through the vegan diet and a bunch of things that I'm learning that are helping me out along with my journey, because I'm learning a lot. The last one we talked about vitamin D, vitamin D, principle number 4 in the vegan diet, and some other things that I've been learning. And then, so I've got that. I'm working on another group for other people with more coaches to get in there to help people transform their lives even more. And those are the big things that I have in the works, and that there's a couple more things, but I don't really have any of that set in stone or really working on that. So that's what I have going on right now.
Awesome. That is awesome. I love it, Michael. I love it. I love it. What advice did you have for anybody who might find themselves in a situation they might have just gotten a diagnosis and um or they know someone, cuz I can imagine, your everybody doesn't have a parent like yours, right? And your
Right.
father came along. So how can you encourage someone who has it, and then someone who if they have a loved one or someone close to them that needs that support, what would you suggest? What advice do you give them?
I'd say that things might seem, or that your world might seem to be really negative. Like you've gotten this diagnosis where everything's changed, that there's the old you and the new you isn't as good as the old you used to be, because I don't know, maybe you were running 5 miles every single day or whatever it was, but that the new you can be better than the old you.
Mhm.
And that new version of you, that yeah, it looks a little different, just because you might not be able to really jog, but I'm working on getting back to that point. But when I was first diagnosed, I really started working on my brain and getting that built up, because I was like, if for some reason my physical abilities go away, I've got to be a lot smarter. I have to make it up
Love
somehow.
that. Love that.
So and so whatever you're going through, that life's not over, that it's a diagnosis, that there's things that you can do to improve your diagnosis. And if you lost hope, or things seem to be different, that when you do things like you heal your gut and other areas, that everything starts to get better, and that life's not over, and that this new you, it can be better than the old you, and that different things that you might not have done a ton of in the past. Like I think I'm a lot more empathetic to a lot of people. And I want to say I've cried more being diagnosed after being diagnosed than anything. But a lot of that's good tears, and you can
Mm.
get to a place to where you're a better version of yourself and to where you improve. And remember that a lot of people like to talk about the 1% rule, to be 1% better than you were the previous day before, and that you can still improve and you can get better, and that life may look different, but that doesn't mean that life's worse. That even though life may look different, that your life can be better than how it used to be. And if you enjoy doing some stuff that, like, I've gone back and I'm not active, but when I went back to do judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that I could still do all the exercises and everything. It just looked a little different, and that's okay. And it's getting to the point where you're okay with that and realize that when you get all those connections and everything working like they used to, that you can get everything back to where it once was. It's just for right now, things have changed a little bit, and that is more than okay. It's great. It's fine. And you're getting to a better place in life. Don't forget that.
So before I let our audience go and let you go, I have to hear more about how did you work on your brain? You said you wanted, that's powerful. It's like, I'm going to make sure that if nothing else, that my brain, I work on that and make that as strong as possible. So what kind of things did you do?
So one of the things I did, I mean, of course, YouTube University, that was because I changed a lot of my thoughts that way, because I rewired my brain. Because when I did, I basically
I'm
started
assuming
doing
for the better.
for the better. I willingly brainwashed myself into being more positive. I was like, doesn't matter if it's true, just believe it. And then my thoughts changed over time. And then one thing I did was reading's always been a struggle for me. High I'm on the high spectrum of autism and Asperger's. So some things have always been more difficult for me. And one thing that was more difficult was reading. And I'd start reading because I was like, everybody's saying it's good for you. So I'll start doing that. But I take maybe 10, I'd read maybe 10 pages in an hour. It was
Wow.
extremely slow.
Hmm.
And then I did a speed reading course, and that bumped up my speeding to where my average speed was like half the speed of what everybody else's average speed was. And I was like, oh, that's why this is so painful.
Mm.
But then I sped that up. So I did that. I started going through as many free courses I could through Mind Valley and whatever
Mm.
else, that whatever they said, hey, this is a free course that can help you improve. I jumped in and I did it. And I just did whatever I could to boost my memory and help me out with that. And with the weak spots like reading, bought and I bought a speed reading course, and I went through the speed reading course. I went through Jim Quick's memory. He works with
Hmm.
spelling champions. So
Yeah.
he has a quick student course. I bought the quick student course when he was doing an Instagram live or Facebook live, both of them at the same time. And
Yep.
he offered his student course. And then when I went through his student course, he sold his reading course. And I was like, that's one thing I've always struggled with. If his student course helped me out as much as it has with my memory, his reading course will work. So I bought the reading course. And then he had a decision making course that I bought that as well. And just whatever I could to boost my memory, I did that with his student course, with his reading course. And there were other similar similar courses and things like that that I did, but that's a way that I ended up boosting up my memory.
I want to thank you, Michael, for showing up in the world in such a powerful way. We need more leaders like you. We need more people who is not going to let life just beat them down and keep them down, right? Because life will try to do that,
Right.
but you refuse. And I praise God for the support of your family, your father who challenged you and said, hey, you got options here. You can do what you've been doing, or you could turn this thing around. And I'm so glad you decided to turn things around for the better. And not only that, but you're showing up in the world for other people. This is absolutely fantastic. Folks, just contact, especially if you know somebody who has an autoimmune diagnosis. Michael has this, you felt this positive energy as he's been in this interview with me. And now he's serving other people. And that's really what we've been sent here to do, to serve other people. So I thank you again, Michael, for doing that. Um, all the information is in the chat or how you can connect with him. And please do, especially if you know somebody who needs it or you need the help, because you don't have to you don't have to remain a total victim. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, thank you, thank you for changing the world in a positive light. I thank all those who have joined and will join later. It's been a pleasure sharing this special broadcast of Company Culture. And we normally are in the morning at 7:30, but I knew Michael's story was powerful enough that we needed you to hear it. So until next time, remember, it takes all of us to create a healthy culture where everyone, and I mean everyone, can thrive. Thank you again, Michael. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.